Okay. All right, I'd like to call the regular city council meeting of the Aledo City Council to order at 6:02. Please stand with me for the invocation. Councilman Clark, will you lead us in the invocation, please? Mike.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, just pray that you bless the city of Aledo and its residents, and just have a safe return to school coming up. Just pray that we use your discernment to make the decisions for the citizens of Aledo. In your son's name, amen.
Amen. Please join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Citizen appearances. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the City Council on any agenda item not listed for public hearing or any matter not posted on the agenda. This is the citizens' only opportunity to address the City Council on an agenda item not listed for public hearing. Individual citizen comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. However, time limits can be adjusted by the presiding officer. Time is not transferable. The presiding officer may ask the citizen to hold their comment on an agenda item if the item is posted as a public hearing. The City Council cannot by law take any action or have any discussion or deliberation on any presentation made at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. The City Council may receive the information and ask the city manager to review the matter, or an item may be noticed on a future agenda for deliberation or action. Is there anyone here who wishes to address the council? Seeing none, I'll move on to consent agenda. All items listed below are considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of items unless a City Council member requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence. Approval of the consent agenda authorizes the city manager to implement each item in accordance of staff recommendations. Approve meeting minutes from the July 16th, 2026 work session and the July 16th, 2026 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been first and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda passes. Moving on to the regular agenda. Consider approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Friends of Aledo Public Library and the Aledo Public Library. Erica.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and Council. Presented before you this evening is the Friends of the Aledo Public Library Memorandum. If you have any questions, please let me know. It outlines the roles and responsibilities of both organizations and how we'll work in partnership.
Thank you, Council. Any questions? Todd? Mike.
Okay, a couple questions. And I noticed Ms. Mason's here today. Can we hear a little bit about Friends of the Library and where they come from and the history on it?
Okay, she left that on. Okay, so we formed in November 2024 after the city adopted the library, because then the library was no longer a nonprofit organization. So we kind of formed as their nonprofit fundraising arm, if you will. That's basically the only idea behind our existence, is to support the library. What other questions?
So we heard a lot about Second Story Books. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes, so that is designed to be a consistent fundraising program. We kind of call it the Read It Forward program. So the community is able to donate books and their neighbors get to buy them for cheap. And then after our expenses, the proceeds will all go to the library.
After your expenses, the proceeds go to the library. Who owns Second Story Books? Is it Friends of the Library?
Friends of the Library runs it.
I did a little bit of research, and I can't find anything on the Texas State Comptroller's site or the Texas Secretary of State site referencing second-story books. Is there
Well,
a reason for that?
I did register with them because I pay them sales tax as the
you're-
Friends of the Library.
So Friends of the Library, my apologies. So second-story books is not tax exempt?
Correct. The Friends
Okay.
is. But the Friends runs it. Any payment that comes as second story in the form of a check or whatever is just made out to the Friends.
Okay, and that's registered with the Texas State Comptroller to pay taxes on it? Right,
So it is also benefiting the city because we pay sales tax as well as
Right.
a business.
right. It looks like you guys have been supporting the Aledo Public Library for almost 2 years now. I see all the ads, the publications, the events and whatnot. How much money have you guys raised for the library in the past couple of years?
We acquired about $14,000 when the city transferred. They left that for the Friends Group. We probably raised only a little over 2,000. The first year we were in existence, we didn't organize till later in the year. So we did participate in the first, there's a giving day in the fall, there's a giving day now in the spring for just libraries. North Texas has organized that. So we jumped on that basically right as it started. So that first summer, we bought all the reading prizes, because you're still in the old building, so there was really no sense of figuring out what else you might need until you moved. So then we were kind of in that same pattern, like we had a little bit of money, but we weren't really fundraising because we didn't kind of know what you needed yet. So we participated in 2025 reading, the 2026 Library Giving Day, which was this past spring, probably raised about $1,000 again, bought the summer reading prizes again. And then part of this agreement is for us to kind of have better communication, like, you know, what are you guys looking for long-term for the library? Do you need shelves? Do you need this? Do you need that? So, I mean, that would come into play more now that we know what you're possibly looking at for the new facility.
Okay, so about $1,000 a year?
For now, yeah.
Okay, and that's fair. Does EPCL still exist?
I don't believe so.
And the reason why I ask is when you go to, and this may be a cross question between city and her, when you go to the city's website and you click on the library department, it goes to the EPCL domain name. And when you look at, go to the donations page and you see the North Texas Giving Day, when you click on that, it shows nothing but EPCL. So if the library's been a part of the city for 2 years now, that would suggest that for the past 2 years, those donations have been made to EPCL. I know we talked about that earlier. Were you able to get any type of clarification on that?
Yes, and I will defer to our library director as well. It looked like that maybe it was going to an incorrect link, an old link, instead of the new one. There was a new link that was provided to me by staff. So I think in part of our website transition, there are some old links and information that we're still kind of directing to inadvertently.
So I guess the question then would be then, no money's been collected on behalf of the city through North Texas Giving Day, is it called, in September? For the past 2 years, have you guys collected any money for that event?
So we have our own page as the Friends Group.
Right.
I doubt that link actually does work because that bank account has been defunct since you guys adopted the library. So even if someone tried to donate to it, it's not going to work. As for does it exist? I mean, I don't know. I thought your lawyer was dealing with that, but I know if you don't file your 990s for 3 years, you cease to exist. So,
You talking about EPCL?
yeah.
As of last night, according to the Secretary of State, they still exist, and same with Texas State Comptroller, which brought some questions in my mind. You know, who are we working with today? Is it EPCL? Is it Friends? What are we doing?
According to me, I mean, Friends, I don't have anything to do with EPCL anymore. I don't file anything for them. I mean, the last filing I did was for the year prior to adoption. That's the last 990 we filed.
Okay. In dealing with the MOU, paragraph 3, it talks about that the library agrees to share its strategic initiatives with Friends at the beginning of each fiscal year, but later October 31, and discuss how Friends' resources and support can help advance those initiatives. We don't have that yet, right? We're working on that?
Correct. And I've spoken to several council members about the agreement, and I know that there is clarifying language that we probably need to add in regards to donations and some things. And so I welcome that feedback this evening so that we can make the MOU better represent the relationship between the library and the Friends Group. But yes, Councilmember Covington, this library strategic plan was part of the budget this fiscal year, but with transitions was not actually initiated. It is scheduled to start in September and has been rebudgeted in the FY 2027 budget. And that is a process that the library, city staff, the library board would be involved in, and the ultimate strategic plan would come to council for adoption.
In the essence of saving some time, has there already been some items that we decided to change the language on, we don't have to talk about, or we can bring it public and talk about that language, or do I just need to go down through my list?
No, I think you can bring up anything in case other council members may have a question or a comment. But definitely clarifying language around donation types, strategic plan, we can strengthen some of those items better.
Well, fair enough. Paragraph 4, I'm not real comfortable with the language that should that list not be first approved by the library board and then city council. So it talks about approving a list, a wish list. Shouldn't that wish list go before the library board, then the library board bring it to city council?
Yes, so that list would come forward during the budget process.
Do we need to add language to that effect? Because now it sounds like the library board can just go directly to,
We could add, information about how any projects or initiatives that may come up through the budget process.
And so keeping in mind that an MOU, memorandum of understanding, is just between the two parties, these are our goals and our objectives. Those technical details of how it goes through the city's process may be more appropriate for your library policy versus this document specifically.
so speaking of library policies, the strategic policy, do we already have something in place? You talked earlier, I know we're hiring a company to do that, but is there something already in place that refers to the public services policies?
So the library has policies, yes, that were, I believe, previously reviewed and approved by the city council. And so that is what the library operates under now. Any revisions to those policies, now that there's a library board, would go to the library board first for review and recommendation to council for amendments.
Okay. On paragraph 5, and it talks about donations, can we define what donations are? Would that be something that is in line with the MOU? When I say define, monetary versus materials?
So we could define it as a reference back to donations as defined, because you have a collection donation policy in existence already. So we could refer to that policy.
So I'm not familiar with the collection policy.
Okay, I can circulate that to council.
Is anybody else familiar with that? No? Okay. So one of the questions was, how are we determining what items are being kept? But I assume that falls under the collection policy.
Correct.
And why are we not accepting donations directly at the library and then given to the Friends the items that do not meet our collection policy?
So the MOU is written to where donations can be accepted at either location. They can be dropped off at the library, they could be dropped off at the Second Story Book, so Friends could collect them. Right now, both groups kind of look through them, and if the library determines that there's anything worth adding to the collection, they will do that. I defer to our library director, but I think that that is far and few between where we're actually finding items in the donations that we are adding to the collection.
Okay.
So before we move on from one of these, so what are your administrative costs today at the Friends? You have the bookstore, so is there rent associated with that flows through the Friends?
Yes, rent and utilities, and that's it. We have all volunteers that run it. We only take donations, so we don't buy books to resell.
So if a constituent comes in to make a donation and they say they're at Friends Bookstore, they want to make a donation to the library and they make it to you, do they know that a portion or all of their donations go into your administrative costs? Whereas if they came and donated at the library, it goes straight to the library?
Yes,
Is that
every
clear?
time someone comes to me for a donation, I explain what we do. We're a nonprofit, used bookstore, and I always say after my expenses, all proceeds go to the library. So they're perfectly aware that I need to pay some stuff before I make a profit.
That was my main concern with the donation thing, is that, if a constituents coming and making a donation, are they aware that that's covering cost of the bookstore? Whereas if they donate directly to the library, it's going straight to the library.
Well, there's no monetary value for the stuff they donate to the library,
I'm
other
talking
than the
about-
library doesn't have to
I'm talking about
buy
a
it.
cash donation. If somebody wanted to go make a donation, and you
I've
raise,
yet to get a cash donation at the bookstore, but I'd love some.
good.
But yeah.
And to piggyback that, to my point, it seems like it's kind of muddy. I would like to see better language identifying that, such as, one of my questions were, who determines at Friends the difference between raising money exclusively for the library and raising money for Friends? And when you have such events, are we clearly identifying that there's a difference between the two events?
I don't really see a difference because everything I do raises money for the library. I mean, even the bookstore, it's still meant to be a consistent fundraising source. It's still a program I run, and it's, you know, it's like Giving Day, or if it's like if I had an event, everything has an expense, everything has a profit. So it's not really meant to, oh, I'm raising money for the bookstore. Although I did raise money to open it. That did not affect our main account. I raised about $14,000 because I knew I had to pay like rent and, you know, security deposit, all that stuff. So I did raise that specifically for that. But now that it's in place, I mean, in my mind, it's just raising money for the library.
So if I understand correctly, then, there won't be two different events. It'll be like one event to raise money, and then you'll keep a percentage of that to help cover your overhead costs?
I mean, no, I think more, you know, when I say event, I would like, oh, let's do a fall event, let's do a dinner, let's do something big, which we haven't planned yet, but same thing, like we're gonna invest, you know, you pay for your food and then you make a profit. I mean, the bookstore is kind of the same idea. I mean, it is a business, but it's still the same premise of I have an expense, I make a profit. So to me, it's all going into the same pot, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, and where I'm going with that is, there's not a predefined amount of, if X amount of dollars gets raised, X goes to the library and X stays at Second Story Books, which, as you've indicated, Second Story Books is actually technically a different business, because it's not a nonprofit, it is a for-profit, which is why it pays sales tax, correct?
Well, no, I pay sales tax because when I looked it up, Friends can do no sales tax if they have like 2 big sales a year, but if it's a consistent sale, you have to pay it. So I didn't want the Friends to get in trouble for not paying sales tax for having more than 2 sales a year.
So is Friends registered for sales tax, or is Second Story?
It's Friends, like as, I don't have it in front of me exactly how it's written, but I registered as Friends of the Aledo Public Library.
So Second Story is not registered?
I don't know.
And that's fair, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just trying to understand.
It is on the thing, I mean, it's on the sales tax thing. It
Right.
might be doing business as, like, I don't know how it's written. I can look that for you. But,
Again, more of that mud where it's not clearly defined where money's going where, and just one of my concerns.
Well, but it's, any money that they collect is their money, and then it's their choice of how much of that, we haven't defined a percentage in here of how much they're going to give. So to say, I mean, you're going to cover your operational costs, so I don't know if you can define how much money you're going to give, because that's not going to be consistent. And the city's not here to run your business.
Yeah, but they're selling assets donated to the city.
If they're selling assets the city turned down,
Not according to this agreement says that when somebody makes a donation,
someone makes
they
it.
either take it to the library, they take it to Friends, and then someone from the library later comes over and takes a look.
And that's, that's the question I have. So I mean, it's not really a question, but the library administration has the veto power of what they're going to take and what they're going to accept in as a donation to the library and what they don't want.
Well, that was my next question. Who in the library administration has the final say in something like that?
For books, physical books, it would be the library director or the librarian because they oversee the collection development.
Okay. In that final paragraph, it talks about, and I say final paragraph, paragraph 10, it talks about gifts and being declined, and my comment here that I wrote down was, I cannot help but notice that the language of accepting or declining all gifts is in the same paragraph as discussing funds raised to support the library. I cannot see a situation where the library would decline financial gifts. So I would like better language on that to identify what are we talking about there? Monetary versus,
Books.
right, material. Because that could suggest that something that the library can turn down a cash donation.
So you do have donation policy as part of your collection policy again. So these are all on the library's website. So it does talk about the library welcomes donations of materials in accordance with your gifts policy. They're evaluated using the same criteria that are applied to purchased materials. And it specifically says, before making material or monetary donations to expand or enhance the library's collection, please read the full gift policy. So you do have all of that, all of the details for how the city operates under this in your library policies that are on the website.
I understand that, but that last sentence says that basically the staff has the final say in accepting and declining any and all gifts. So it isn't a monetary gift?
Per the
Correct.
donation policy.
So that's going to be under your gift and donation policies. So again, you're not going to reiterate all of the steps the city takes under your policies in the MOU. The MOU is already just incorporating all of your internal policies and is really just looking at the Friends has their operation, the city has their operation, how do you two work together? It doesn't allow you to go outside of your policies when working.
In most cities, I mean, most public libraries have a Friends of the Library, correct?
Many of them do.
Most, and they do events and fundraisers.
Correct, but very
able-
few have a brick and mortar.
Right. I would say that's probably a unique way, but also different and a way to raise money for the library.
Shane, can I ask clarification to your point?
Sure.
When I was reading this, similar to Todd's point, is if the donations go to the Friends first, they decide what books they want. So they're making the decision of what they pick out of that before the library does. But let me add to this. I have a little bit of experience with some books lately. And I took 27 tubs to half-price books, and I unloaded all of them, and then I got my offer, which was $68. So I didn't want to load 27 tubs back up. So books today obviously are not worth what they were when my father-in-law bought them 30 years ago. But my point to it is that if it goes to Friends first and they pick what they want, and I don't know if that's the process, but they're going there. If you decide, that's why he's saying city asset, that at that point, they're going to take all the good books they can sell. And my concern is that that then goes to administrative costs.
Gotcha. Beck? Microphone.
Thank you. We have essentially right of first refusal, so we will go over there and look periodically, and also Kathy notifies us if there's anything that seems like we might want it, but the vast majority are like the ones that you donated. They're not going to go in our collection, and space saver for us not to be processing. And what happens is when people ask about donating, usually we have various length spiels that we give that are essentially, if it's from like the last year or two and in excellent shape, go ahead and give it directly to us. If it's older, we're not likely to add it to the collection. You can take it to friends, and then for their convenience, kind of, we're filtering it out that way in how we talk to people about whether we'd like the donation or not. So we're already kind of doing a level there, and then backing that up with double checking against what is donated to friends through Second Story Books. Because yeah, some things will slip through. But like a lot of times, even when it's in excellent shape, we look at it and we either already have it or there's some other reason we wouldn't want it. And so we are regularly sending things to friends as is and are struggling a bit with the space on that at times, because we have this wonderful new space that has so much room for the public, not a ton of processing room for staff. So I think I can say for the last, when did you open? March?
February,
Yeah. So the last several months, like it has been working really well as a process. We managed to send quite a few that have made really good summer reading prizes. They have made a profit for, the last 2 months, right?
July, yeah.
Yeah, July. So I think I absolutely hear the concerns, and it is on us to go and make sure that we're not missing anything. But I do not have concerns about them like greedily gobbling up the things that will sell, because they also understand when it's something we might add to the collection, there's a complicated balance there between how much money can they make for it, what would it cost us to add it to our collection? Because it's not free to process these things and add them. Like, it takes quite a bit of staff time and some material costs. And so there's a balance there, and I don't think we've been losing things with the new arrangement. I think it's actually working pretty well, and this is intended to kind of formalize the spirit of it. If you want it to have more specifics in there, like if you want it to specify that staff are going over bi-weekly or something, which is bi-weekly, is that every 2 weeks or twice a week?
Bi-weekly.
But you know what I mean, like, we can put something in there language-wise for that. I think part of the idea is not wanting to be overly specific, because what if, say, staffing structures change and we need to do it less frequently and we need to adjust how we're doing it, or maybe how they're run with their volunteers changes. And so right now, I think Kathy is kind of setting aside some of that newer stuff she thinks we might want in like a little area in their processing room. That could change for one reason or another. But right now, if I go over there and I see something I want, then I say, I want it, and I get it. Like, it's not, we're not getting into fisticuffs over things by any means. And I don't mean to like make light of your concern when I say that. I just mean it is working, because we don't want that to happen. We want to respect the intention of donors for the books as well. But I will say that the vast, vast majority of materials that are donated, whether to here or to there, are not things that go into the collection at the end of the day.
Well, I would love to think that we're all warm and fuzzy and trustworthy of one another, but we're talking
Trust
about,
but verify.
we're dealing with
Definite.
taxpayers' dollars, and I would prefer to see clarity of that.
Yeah.
So, and that's where my concerns, my questions are coming from. I get this, the idea of the support and the function of that, but I feel like there should be some more clarity to some of what we're looking at here. And I've only got a couple more questions. I promise I'm done. Paragraph 11 indicated that, well, paragraph 11 says the Friends agree to engage in advocacy efforts on behalf of the library under the guidance of the library and the library board. Shouldn't that be underneath the guidance of city council?
Well, but council has created and appointed a library board to be their advisory board for library services.
So one would assume then the library board would have to come to council for approval? Or is the library board just circumventing us and going directly to Friends?
No, I mean, the council has given library board kind of powers over kind of working with library staff and city administration. But at the end of the day, council has the final say. in
Okay.
Policies, procedures.
How does
budget
council,
allocation.
in relation to number 11, how does council have a final say? Because we've given library board direction or guidelines, or,
Yes, and you set the library board.
okay? So we have faith in.
And so you're also, right, things that are coming to you from your different boards are things that either legally require approval or things that you've said have to require approval. So if it's the library board is reaching out and saying, hey, please advocate because we've got the summer reading program, if you require that to go to the library board and then to council before it can be communicated, you might very well miss advocating the summer reading program.
Okay. Last thing I got. I noticed there's no language prohibiting a library board member for being on a Friends board. So would it be prudent to add language to prohibit library board members from being on the Friends board?
We might have already included something on your library board requirements. Let me see.
I don't know that I recall anything in our library board ordinance about not being,
mean, it would not create a conflict between those two. If you wanted to add requirements to your library board, you would need to put it in your library board ordinance, but,
But not on the MOU?
no, well, your MOU shouldn't conflict with your current ordinances and policies. So if that's not a requirement under your current ordinance or policy, we would need to go amend those.
Okay. All right, I'm done for now.
So, Council, Ben?
One clarification that I wanted to make. In reading this, the point I'm trying to make, this is a unique situation with, most libraries just have the Friends. And so when you have a for-profit, that's where it's. Your
Sorry, what's the for-profit?
second story books?
I don't make a profit.
Well,
I mean, that's not the design of it.
in theory it is though, is it not?
But it's set up as a 501(c)(3).
It is?
Well, the Friends is, and
Second Story Books set up as a 501(c)(3).
it's not a separate one, no. It's part of the Friends. Did I do that wrong? I have no idea, but right now,
I don't know,
everything's-
but you have administrative costs that without having a bookstore or a shop where you have rent, you wouldn't normally have those administrative costs that are having to be covered.
True.
So that's my only point in it, is that there's some administrative costs. So I support the efforts of what we're trying to do. It's a little muddy, it's murky when you read it. I'm like, well, what, to Todd's points, it's like, okay, what are these entities doing and what's the whole purpose? If the whole purpose is to raise money for the library, I'm a math guy, so if you've only raised 1,000 and your rent's 2,000 a month, that's 24,000 a year in rent. I don't know what your rent is, but you gotta do a lot of fundraising to cover the rent. So does it make sense from a nonprofit standpoint to have a shop that's not gonna cover all those expenses? And maybe you raise 14,000, so what you said earlier. So I just wanted to clarify, that's my only concern about it is just, it's not like most of the library things, and it's creating some expense that takes away from benefiting the library in the long run.
Kathy, let me ask you a question. So let's just say, for whatever reason, let's just say Second Story Books is not successful. Is it your intention to still, even if that wasn't successful, to still raise money as the Friends Group for the Aledo Public Library?
Yes.
A couple things the one change I'd like to see is I'd like this to be between the Friends Executive Board and the City Council instead of the City Administration. I do have a question.
If I just may, so it is the city of Aledo, the council approving this agreement. The coordination happens between library administration and the Friends of the Library group because we're talking about programming. This is kind of through the strategic plan approved by council, these are some of our initiatives. So it's more coordinating on an operational programming standpoint.
If there are changes to this document, who gets, does
City.
it come before your council or does the city administrator sign it?
City council, because city council's approving it.
Right, it's between the Friends and the City Council acting on behalf of the library.
We have nothing in here if there were to come a time where there was a disagreement. So there's no resolution in here. So let's say the library Beck has one idea and the Friends have a different idea, and we can't come to an agreement. Do we need to have some kind of resolution in here?
So that would be if you wanted to have a formalized contract with remedies and terms for lawsuits and all of those things. This is really just organizing it is our intent to serve you in this way, it is the library's intent to act in this way versus a formal contract.
And then the last line, upon disbandment, existing operational obligations are satisfied, any unspent funds come to the library. Does that cover everything under Texas law, nonprofit law? Like it's usually in their bylaws, it would be in their
Right.
bylaws how they have to take that down.
Correct.
How I read that is we're telling them, when you take it down, we're going to take everything or we're
And,
going to
and,
take it
and so
after?
normally a 501c3 under state law, once those are disbanded, it goes to another nonprofit, so your city is a nonprofit. Normally, it's something that aligns with their mission. To answer some of the questions about the ability to sell goods, a nonprofit can sell goods that aligns with its mission. So the action of having the Second Story Books is aligned with their mission of supporting the public library, so that is allowed under their 501c3. So.
Question for you then. So you're saying that as a 501(c), you can establish your name, in this case, Friends of the Library, and then you're going to spin up another business name with no type of documentation or anything?
According to what she said is that she has set that up as she believes a
But
DBA.
we've gone, with all due respect, it's going back and forth. In fact, one of my questions I've written down is, when you write a receipt to somebody for buying a book, I'm assuming you give you a receipt, what name is on that receipt? Okay, so you're okay. So is Second Story just like a pseudonym or something, or?
It's I don't know if it's a pseudo. I mean, it might be a DBA.
Like I say, it sounds like a DBA.
Yeah. I mean,
But even so, you would pay taxes at the state on that as a DBA.
I don't know. I have to-
So that would be something that they would need to run through their accountants, financial advisors, but they are allowed to sell to raise funds to support their mission as a nonprofit.
That makes sense. So the other thing I'd like to add is maybe the Friends reporting to council once a year with what they've done,
Where'd that come from?
as far as what you've been able to accomplish and so forth. I'd like to see that written into the agreement someplace.
Yeah, if they're willing to come in and do that, we can add that expectation.
Yeah.
Anything further from council?
One more question. In the event that you're fundraising and you receive cash or cash equivalent, does all of that gross go to the library, or does that funnel through Friends of the Library and expenses before it gets distributed to the library?
Right now, everything goes into the Friends account. And other than the things I've bought that I know about, like, that I plan for, I mean, that's kind of what this is a little bit for. So it's just in one account. So it might go to an expense if I need it, but like, I don't know, I just have one pot. I don't really understand what you're asking.
Well, what I'm asking is if a member of our community during a fundraising effort donates $100 to Friends of the Library, should that be going directly to the library where there's a dollar for dollar impact on the library versus going through Friends where it may get diluted because it hits that account where expenses come out?
Gotcha. Right now, like if I raise money for like Library Giving Day, and I know that amount, although in the account, I know like, oh, okay, I have $1,000 to spend on the prizes. So there's no formal way right now. Lost my train of thought.
It's not 100%, I mean, it's fairly easy to say, it's probably not 100% equal across the board. So
Right.
100% of what you take in is not going to be 100% of what comes to the library. Just like any other charity organization out there, they may collect funds, they have administration costs, operational costs that have to get paid, and then there's going to be, whatever's left over is going to get paid, essentially.
Yeah,
I mean, but if like on giving day, if you know there's $1,000 and you don't need it, then all $1,000 is coming.
right. And that's how we've done the last 2 Giving Days. You know, we raised about the same amount, about $1,000. And, you know, we bought the summer reading prizes between $700 and $900 both summers, so that, in my mind, that goes to that. I don't really want to separate fundraising because, you know, the store hopefully will eventually, like, in July, we made like $4,000. So, of that's a profit for us that is still in the account, but I'd love to do that every month and figure out eventually, okay, we can give 2,000 every month, but we're not quite there yet. But for a specific fundraising event like Giving Day, I'm like, okay, we raised $1,000, what do they need? Which is still muddy, I know, but
I was going to say, I applaud what you're doing. I really, really do. But it's muddy, and that's my concern.
I mean, I'd say, make this sound this way, but every nonprofit there's some mud in it, right there. I mean, and there's reports that you can get to see from a nonprofit how much of your actual donation actually makes it through to the actual cause. I don't think this has been open long enough to really figure that out, and I don't think we've tracked that at this point.
So can I add maybe a clarity question of,
Sure.
maybe for you or both, but you mentioned earlier the city don't put 14,000 into the Friends account, correct?
No, she fundraised on her own.
well,
There was
no.
14,000 that came over from the agreement.
So,
When the library was transferred, not all of the funding was transferred. There was money left in the Friends account.
Wasn't it
Or
15?
EPC. I don't have the exact number
Wasn't
in
the
front of me,
agreement
but
15?
The agreement was 15. We wound up getting about 14 because we paid for the last tax filing, and I thought that should come from us and not the city.
Okay,
So
so
what
let me-
wound up being about 14.
let me finish connecting the dots of what I'm going to say here, though. But you made a decision to rent a space, and you had 14, 15,000 in the account from that transfer. So that money therefore was used for a second-story books as a DBA to open up a store that used funds that were transferred over.
If I understand correctly, she also raised another 14
I did.
in donations to help launch
Right,
the brick and mortar,
Oh.
I did.
I'm just,
right?
from the
Not
whole,
beyond, man, old guy.
I hope you keep making 4,000 a month and your expenses are less than your income and it adds more to the library. But that's why I say most don't have this second-story books. I think it's not a bad idea, but books aren't worth that much, and I just don't know if it has enough income generation to cover the expenses.
And that's why I asked if that particular venture were to cease, right, that's their current way to raise funds. Right, that doesn't mean that if that bookstore were to cease, that doesn't mean they're going to cease fundraising.
Well, you didn't ask, are you going to continue to pay the rent till the rent agreement's done with
Right,
funds
right.
that come
Yeah,
in
yeah.
for the library, even if you shut it down? Because there's still expenses, and I don't know what her rent agreement is, and I don't know if we need to see it as a city. But
No.
to Matt's question that he asked, it's not a dollar for dollar if somebody comes to give $100 cash.
But anybody can donate directly to the library as well.
Yes.
And the city can accept that donation, and that's 100% to the library. This is just an extension of a group that is fundraising and advocating on behalf of the library services and programs.
Is it as simple enough of having a disclosure to the public that says if you donate to the Friends of the Library, there's administrative costs that it goes to cover a portion of your donation? And then somebody's donating, they know. And if they didn't read it, they didn't read it. But that's my concern is if donations, and if you raise 14, I mean, there's an impact to the library in that, in my opinion, so.
Just
Question.
for what it's worth, just reading through some fact sheets from the United for Libraries Association of Library Trustees, Advocates, Friends, and Foundations. It does not look like 100% dollar for dollar is even recommended. They only recommend about around 80% after administrative costs. So even the national organizations are recommending that Friends groups do not provide the full 100%. And I can forward that to Candace, so she has that if you all need it.
But how many of them have a store? That's the question.
Who's on your board?
Myself, Alona Bergman is our vice, Debbie Mantooth is our secretary, and I'm serving as the treasurer right now as well as the president until I find a new president.
So right now, there's no president, no treasurer?
I'm serving as both right
Okay.
now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Friends of Alito Public Library and the Alito Public Library?
Would it be beneficial for staff to come back with a revised version clarifying some of the things about maybe including linking initiatives to the strategic plan, referencing library policies, and then adding clarity around book versus monetary donations?
My opinion, I don't want to see this go away. I just want to see it cleaned up, clarified.
Is there a motion to table approval of the memorandum of understanding between Friends of the Alito Public Library and the Alito Public Library? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item is tabled. Item B, consider approval and adoption of the 2026 certified tax roll fiscal year 2027, tax year 2026. Candace.
Yes, Mayor and Council. In your packet, you had the certification of the appraisal roll that was completed by our chief appraiser back on July 22nd. Our total appraised taxable value was a little over $1 billion. We did have total new improvements taxable value of a little over 41 million. Stacy, you may have to help me roll through the presentation. But essentially, this is the roll that has been certified by our chief appraiser, and we're looking for council to approve the certified roll this evening before we start into our tax rate and budget discussions. And this appraisal roll, the total taxable value is what is used to create our no new revenue, voter approval, and our de minimis tax rates.
Any questions from council? Is there a motion to approve and adopt the 2026 certified tax roll fiscal year 2027, tax year 2026?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. It's been first and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Consider setting the proposed fiscal year 2027 property tax rate and scheduling of public hearing on the proposed tax rate.
And I'll let council know, we also have our Chief Financial Officer, Doug Martella, here to add to the tax rate and budget conversations. How are you doing, Doug? Oh, we can't hear you.
Is your microphone on, Doug? How about now? Nope.
Okay, I'll start while we maybe work through that. So we calculated our tax rates, as I mentioned, based on the total appraised value of our property this year. What we are recommending to council this evening is a proposed tax rate of 0.352415. That does add a surplus of about $306,000 into our general fund. The value of 1 penny is just a little under 100,000. This is set at the de minimis tax rate, which means that we would have a shortened approval and adoption timeline if council chooses to move forward with this tax rate option. This slide shows are 3 rate calculations and what that levy would be for the general fund. It includes our INS levy as well as our TERS transfer. Am I doing a good job, Doug? Yes.
Is this because she's on Do Not Disturb?
Oh. Are you on Do Not Disturb? Are you see something? You are? Oh, it's the
Okay.
notifications, okay. It could be something with the technology, because we're streaming and Zooming and have a presentation, and
It's okay.
you can see in the far right-hand column the general fund position of each of their tax rate scenarios. So if we were adopting the no new revenue rate, we would be looking at a deficit of about $165,000. The voter approval rate, $115,000, and as I mentioned, the de minimis rate does bring in an additional $306,000 into the general fund. On a side note, the original pro forma that was presented to City Council when talking about initiating a police department did have the tax rate going between the no new revenue rate and the de minimis rate to add additional funding to support the expansion of that service. It so happens this year that the de minimis rate falls below our current tax rate. So we would be able to not only see a tax rate reduction of about 0.8%, but also realize a little additional revenue to support expansion of services. Basically, this kind of shows that the no new revenue rate is calculated on our entire levy, which does include the TERS, and that is an increment that we have to back out and then show the transfer into our actual TERS fund. The voter approval and the de minimis rates are calculated on our maintenance and operation only, and the TERS is not calculated in that. And so then you also add the debt INS rate on top of it. So the result is, under the no new revenue rate, the total rate overstates what actually reaches operations, while under the voter approval and the de minimis rate, the total rate is generally available for maintenance and operation. So it's more of a kind of true rate going into the operations. And so this is just kind of a graph that shows a little bit about what I spoke to earlier, what each rate, the effect each rate has on our general fund. So we would be looking at deficits under our current proposed budget under the no new revenue and voter approval rate, but we are realizing an increase in revenue into our maintenance and operations under the de minimis rate. As noted, so the de minimis rate requires adoption and public hearings be held by August 20th. We have an August 24th deadline before we would not be able to pursue this rate option. And so tonight we're asking for council to consider setting the proposed rate at 0.352415, which is the de minimis rate, and calling the public hearing for August 20th. We will have to publish notice starting this weekend in the paper to be able to hit all of our target deadlines for an August 20th hearing and adoption. And with that, I will answer any questions. Doug's texting me some things. Let me see what Doug said. He said I'm doing a good job. Okay.
Is what we have in our packet versus what's on the screen, that very last number on here is a 5, and in our packet is a 6.
In the, which? Oh, okay. We'll make sure that we get the correct, yeah.
It's not going to be
Yeah.
life-changing.
No, it's not gonna be life-changing, but we'll make sure that we have the correct number pulled from what was on the tax rate.
So which number's correct? Or do we know
Is it 352415, Doug, or 352416? 5.
5. Any questions from council? Is there a motion to consider the proposed fiscal 2027 property tax rate and scheduling the proposed tax rate hearing for August 20th?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? It's been first and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Good job, Doug. All right, moving on to staff presentations. Proposed budget 2027.
Yes, Mayor and Council. We'd held our kind of small group council meetings last week. I appreciate everyone's time and attention and making yourselves available for those discussions. You may have noticed that there were a few kind of amendments in some of the final numbers as we worked through cleaning up the budget. There were still some formula errors that we needed to clean up in this last one that was sent to council, and so the numbers may look slightly different just from the way the formulas were calculating. But this is our first kind of public presentation of our proposed FY 2027 budget. I can't get that. Well. Oh, there we go. So at a glance, this shows all of our funds, our beginning balance, our anticipated revenues, calculating in the de minimis rate, and anticipated expenditures, and then the ending fund balance for each of the funds. As you can see from this slide, we have very healthy ending fund balances in pretty much all of our funds. So for the revenue base, as I mentioned when we were talking about the certified taxable value, a little over $1 billion with a proposed tax rate of 0.352415. We'll get that last number correct. These were the 3 tax rates that were calculated based off of that certified taxable value, and each one of those was below the city's current adopted tax rate of 0.353535. Looking at general fund revenues, our property tax revenue has increased by about 15%, accounting for new construction added to our certified roll. Our sales tax has also increased by about 26%. That is because we have better aligned our sales tax projections to what we are actually collecting in both our general fund and our EDC fund. Building permits, as we are seeing some continued growth and development in the city, we are seeing our building permit revenue continue to grow. That will be offset with some of our engineering and professional services expenditures as we use those consultants to help us with our development projects. Our refuse franchise fee and our municipal court fines both increased now that we have a police department that is operating full-time since, or almost full-time since January. We are seeing more activity come through our municipal court, and then the refuse franchise fees reflect the increase in those rates. And then we held our interest income pretty steady at about $180,000. So we're looking at about a $5.379 million budget. That's an increase of about $815,000 over our previously adopted budget. On the expenditure side, 5.179 proposed in expenditures. That is an increase of about 13% or $615,000 over our current adopted budget. Where are we seeing those changes? A lot of that was in our police department, where we're proposing to add 3 new police officers, as well as expanding some equipment to support those new positions and our police services. We did increase our development services budget to account for a new position, as well as increased engineering costs for the plan development that we see in the future. We did add additional funding to our street maintenance program, creating a 26% increase in the street fund. We also are proposing a new position in our parks and events budget. This would be a facilities maintenance person that would help manage all of the city facilities and our park operations. There was a slight increase in the library budget, primarily accounted for the allocation of part-time hours to cover our operating hours, as well as small increases in our book budget and some training and development. And then in municipal court, the increase there is aligned with the hiring of our new municipal judge. Where we saw decreases over last fiscal year, the city did have a legal budget that was kind of on its own. We have decided to distribute those expenses across our general fund, our enterprise fund, and our development corporation fund. In finance and in our city secretary, we split those positions. That's our finance manager and our city secretary. We are splitting those equally 50-50 between the general fund and the enterprise fund. In our non-departmental, there were some net transfers that we were not needing to carry over into fiscal year 2027. In the city manager's budget, also splitting that position between general fund, enterprise, and the development corporation. Splitting our communications manager between general fund and EDC. And we did increase some of our marketing expenditures because we have marketing in both the general fund and the economic development fund. And then in talent management in fiscal year 2026, there was a line item for our TMRS change from 7% to 8%. That is not actually being realized in that budget itself, but across all of the funds where we have personnel expenditures. I've touched on it briefly, but just to highlight, the city is looking at adding 5 new positions in the fiscal year 2027 budget. That would be 3 new police officers and their associated costs for overtime, certification pay, uniforms, equipment, a director for development services that would really help oversee development, planning, and infrastructure projects and help better coordinate those, not only for our community, but regionally with our partners. And then a facility and park supervisor to oversee the maintenance and operations of our new city hall, the community center, and our library system. A little deeper dive into public safety, since this is where we're seeing the largest increase. Full-time salaries up 45%, accounting for those 3 new positions. We are also expanding our Axon program. That is a large number, 83,000, but that is the system that we use for all of our body-worn camera, dash camera. It coordinates and talks, not only to itself internally, but to other agencies as well. And so this is a proposed 10-year contract that would lock us in at $83,000 annually. We do have the funding in there for our dispatch services, and then the Parker County contract will actually decrease from roughly $250,000 now to $55,000 to account for the 3 months of anticipated services that we would need while we were hiring and onboarding our new police officers. Some other service level changes in the streets side. We did increase our street maintenance program from $250,000 up to $400,000. As you'll recall, in our pavement condition index report that was recently shared with council, it's first recommendation that we get was to get our maintenance operations to about 500,000 annually. So this increased it by another 150,000 to go towards street and pavement and sidewalk repairs. We did put in a new line item for signs and signals at $20,000. Our right-of-way maintenance, that helps to cover not only work that Public Works might need to do in the right-of-way, but also the mowing of our drainage areas and right-of-way areas. Parks and events, we already talked about the full-time position to support our facilities. Grounds maintenance is in there at its allocated cost. We did increase a little bit for park supplies, added a line item for janitorial services to clean our park restroom, and then a small line item for park improvements. The library budget, we did adjust the part-time hours to reflect current operating hours. The book budget was increased slightly, as that's the library's biggest resource. We did increase their programming to $3,500, but we did decrease our summer reading budget slightly because we wanted to put more into the other programming that the library would be doing. In the communications budget, we did move our light bulb banner program over into communications, since our communications manager oversees the design and transition of those banner poles. We have our website allocation in there. We did create a new line item to support our Veterans Day event, and then we've decreased our marketing dollars slightly in the general fund, knowing that it's offset in the EDC as well. On the enterprise side, our water and wastewater, we are looking at almost a $7 million revenue. So that's a net surplus of almost $849,000 over anticipated expenditures. Our water sales are up on consumption and with our rates. Our refuse revenue, that is also up as well based on the refuse fees that are charged through Republic. On the expenditure side, we are seeing increases as we do annually from our wholesale water purchases with the city of Fort Worth. We did, through a contract, recently increase our sludge disposal to $100,000. We consolidated some water main repairs into one line item and did increase our meters and parts line item slightly because we are issuing more meters as we are doing more development. And this fund has a very, very healthy projected end-of-year fund balance. Looking at our strategic initiatives fund, our capital projects, $500,000 for park improvements. This is just a line item placeholder, knowing that we are working through the process of developing our parks master plan, and that when that is adopted in February, there may be some initiatives or projects that council would like staff to start pursuing. And so this is just a placeholder for that. We do have our comprehensive plan that is ongoing. We've budgeted the full amount in this budget because we are getting a $200,000 grant to offset those costs through the General Land Office. We put in a line item for community center enhancements to maybe help make some improvements to the kitchen and bathroom areas and flooring, but just freshen the space a little bit. We are carrying over the allocation for our Green Ribbon project, which is happening on the north side of 1187 in the medians. They should be out planting in September, but if there's any carryover and they're not complete, we wanted to have a slight allocation headed into the 2027 year. This budget does include $77,000 for a new police vehicle. That is not a vehicle that would be needed this year with the hiring of the 3 new police officers, but is a vehicle that would be needed next year as we look at adding 2 staff at that time. We are carrying over the $30,000 for our citizen survey. And so that was budgeted in fiscal year 2026 and is being carried over into fiscal year 2027 since we did not complete that. The Laserfish project, that will be completed by the end of the year, so we do not anticipate needing to carry that over, so we'll make sure that line item is removed if it's showing in the 2027 budget. And then the library strategic plan, as we discussed earlier, that is getting started in September. So most of those dollars will be spent next fiscal year. And then we did carry a small allocation of $15,000 in IT enhancements to help with any replacement of laptops or other IT software-related items. On the utility capital project side, about $2.7 million in proposed utility infrastructure projects. 1.7 of that going towards water-related projects. You can see down in the lower column, we've listed out our water wastewater master plan, which is starting now with Friesen Nichols. We are required by TCEQ to plug some inactive wells, and so there's $200,000 in the budget for that. Staff is also proposing to rehabilitate well 8 tank, our ground storage tank, for $380,000. We are going to be doing an impact fee study update once the water wastewater master plan is completed, and so there's funding in there to complete that study. And then the $850,000, that is for the construction of the 18-inch sewer line that Plummer has been designing, and that's going to be going to bid hopefully within the next few weeks to a month. The $950,000 you see there, that is the costs, the design and engineering costs for the relocation and upsizing of our utilities south on 1187, where TxDOT will be doing their road expansion. And then there's $75,000 in the budget for a mini excavator for Public Works. And so both operating funds, our enterprise fund and our general fund, have more than enough in our reserves, well above their 180-day reserve requirement. Looking at our debt service, our TERS and our economic development funds, our debt service, that is based off of the proposed calculated rate for fiscal year 2027. We do have some interest payments and principal payments that are coming on. We did not have to do the transfer to the water and sewer fund, and we are drawing down what was an existing fund balance in our debt service fund, which is why you saw that deficit in our fund summary. For the TERS fund, we are anticipating revenue of about $447,000. There is a $200,000 expenditure showing. That is to start paying back or making loan payments towards the $5 million loan that the COG and the Regional Transportation Commission is going to be looking at giving to the city, where we would have a 20-year term to pay back the loan with interest starting in year 11. And so the city has the capacity. This is an approved project in our TERS fund, so we could go ahead and start making those loan payments now. And in our Economic Development Corporation, sales tax revenue up, aligning with what we are actually collecting today. We did include a new line item for public art at $40,000. We increased our community enhancement grant to be able to support 6 projects at a $10,000 match. And then we did increase our Christmas light expense to $50,000 to be able to provide holiday decorations in City Hall and some of the surrounding municipal complex area. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or clarify anything for council.
Anything from council? Ben?
I have one, just one.
Yes.
You did a good job in the pre-meetings to help go through this. On the enterprise fund sheet,
Yes.
so we're projecting $1 million in revenue this year. And I don't think I asked you in our meetings, but what is, and we're only budgeting $200,000 this year. So water and wastewater impact fees, is that from additional housing that's come in that drove that, or is it commercial?
Yes, it's just from additional development, commercial and or residential. Why Doug and I did not make a lot of changes to that right now is because technically we need to move that into a different fund. We should have a separate water sewer impact fund, because we really need to be allocating and using those dollars more specifically than general operations. And so that is something that he and I want to work on developing once we get this budget adopted, is creating that impact fee fund and then moving that revenue into there.
So do we see that projecting at the same amount for this budget year, and we potentially have extra money coming in that we're not identifying yet?
Potentially, yes.
I had another question, I forgot what it was, so I remember it all.
Any other questions? Okay, well, great presentation.
Thank you.
Moving on. Mayor and council member comments. I have a few. First, happy birthday, Mayor Pro Tem Summer Jones. Some thank yous to give out. Thank you to Public Works and Kevin Turner. We had some stop signs that were kind of covered up by some trees, and the resident called in, talked to Kevin, got handled promptly by Public Works, so thanks for that. Thank you to Erica, Candace, Laura, and Councilman Poston for your attendance at Bearcat 101. The I Love Alito fan was the hottest item at Bearcat 101. I don't know, do we have any left? Three, yeah. That was great. TxDOT, we have a new representative that we will work through. Her name is Shauna Russell Jones. So if you see anything from her, she will be sending updates on the I-20, I-30 project to myself, Laura, and Candace. And then if we have issues, I will coordinate them back through her. She's a resident here in Parker County, so she drives through it, she sees it. And then we will kind of take that day by day. Other than that, that's all I got. Anybody else?
I do. I just want to thank the police department. My daughter had 2 flat tires on 1187, and Councilman Matt here called and saw me on the side and said, "You need help." So Saucedo was the officer that helped and waited until we got a tow truck. Can't do much with 2 flat tires.
What's the deal with your kids in these cars, man?
They just need to stay off 1187.
Matt?
I just want to say thank you so much to Candace for putting together this budget with you and your team. It's a tremendous undertaking, and it doesn't go unappreciated. So thank you very much.
Candace, any words?
Nothing in particular, but I will echo the compliments. The budget is a full team effort, and it begins very early on with kind of council's support and direction on things that you want to see in the budget, and that evolves into staff really taking a hard look at their departments. This may have been the first time that many of the staff members sat down and we went line item by line item and really talked about, are you using this? What are you using it for, to make sure that we're being diligent stewards of our taxpayers' dollars. And so kudos to our staff, because if they weren't using a line item, they were very honest about, I don't know why there's that much money in there. We really don't need that much, but I could use a little more here. So I appreciate their effort in helping us get this budget cleaned up and more representative of what the city spends its dollars on to serve our community. And so it really takes all the department directors, and then at the end of the year, it's Jennifer and Doug and I just all in there in the spreadsheet, which is maybe why sometimes the numbers aren't calculating correctly, because we're in there making changes and trying to do things to finalize a document. So thank you all for your support throughout this process and your feedback and what you want to see and what the community wants to see in the budget, and also our staff and the time and effort that they put in putting it together.
Anybody else?
I just had a quick question. Today on Facebook, I tried, somebody had asked where's a good place to have a baby shower for 50 people, and I put the Alito Community Center. But there's no way to tag it, is that correct? Yeah, like there's, I mean, I just thought if if you could tag it, then somebody could look and see the amenities. And so I don't know if that's something we can think about, but I just thought, otherwise, I just put Aledo Community Center and there's no link to have that person then go check out what I'm talking about. Yeah, just an idea.
Anything? Hearing none, we'll move on to executive session. In compliance with the Texas Opens Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, the City Council may convene into executive session to deliberate regarding the following matters. Section 551071, consultation with attorney, Aledo and Fort Worth versus Willow Park, Dean Ranch Development. Section 551087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, Dean Ranch Development, Downtown Development, and Bailey Ranch Development. We'll adjourn into executive session at 7:22. telling you, it's a light bulb. Ready? Okay. Aledo City Council reconvene from executive session at 8:03. There is no action to be taken in from executive session. Candace, you have anything else? No other comments. Seeing none, Aledo City Council is adjourned at 8:03 PM.